violent, but the violence has a purpose. It's not just, oh, this is violence just for the sake of violence. The violence is there to serve a point. And we are live with another episode of BS Busters. I'm joined by the usual suspects of Jewel, Eli Moonstar, and Kenoshi Abominito, but I'll let themselves introduce themselves. So here we go.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, to the BS Busters and Elite Podcast. I am Joe Eli Moonstar, and hopefully you'll not be celebrating Singles Awareness Day, but Valentine's Day.
There's nothing wrong with being single.
Yep. Kenoshi Abominito, here to say, if you're single on Valentine's Day, maybe you can just treat yourself to a nice dinner.
I was about to say something dirty about treating it. A lot of people are treating themselves Valentine's Day, but that's okay. Anyway, we're live with another. We're live with another.
We can do that.
Yeah, we're live with another episode of BS Busters, and we've got some good stuff on the docket. Happy Valentine's Day. I know it's not Valentine's Day. I know Valentine's Day isn't until Monday, but I'm going to get it out the way now because of reasons. So with that being said, let's dive into these topics. So before I go any further, we have 5 topics we're going to cover. The first one is bad news for some people, so we'll get that out of the way first. The rest of it is all stuff related to Valentine's Day, except for what we want in GTA 6. But hey, if you want girlfriends or a female protagonist with boyfriends in a GTA possible GTA 6, then you could connect it to that. We have scummy business practices, best romantic movies for non-romantic movie people, the best real couples in gaming, no shipping. So when I say no shipping, I mean like you can't go with Link and Zelda. Because first of all, it's never been established that they're in a romantic relationship. The closest you get is in Skyward Sword, but even then, not really. What we want in a GTA 6, and finally, what is the best game with romantic elements? So, I guess without much ado, we'll start with the inside the Team 17 stuff.
Oh boy. You guys seriously want to go into the NFT business, don't ya?
Oh, it gets worse than that. It gets worse than that. That was just the tip of the iceberg. That was just the tip of the iceberg. And as we all know, icebergs, except for the ones that are all melting due to global warming and all that other stuff, have basically, it's pretty bad. So I'm going to screen share this and read through it. So basically, Team 17 is a UK company that publishes a lot of stuff. The IP that they are kind of connected to, however, is Worms.
And we're talking about that game Worms, not the wiggly kind.
No. I mean, for gamers, as soon as someone says Worms, they're like, Worms! Yeah, that wonderful game where, it was like Lemmings, except the worms attacked each other.
Yeah, it's just in case somebody didn't get it.
Yeah.
Stop making them. They keep making them.
Well, I mean, the thing is, there's a dedicated fan base for that game. I mean, I personally kind of liked Worms 3D back in the day. Matter of fact, I used to play that with some friends of mine. But anyway, the Worms developer and indie game publisher Team 17 brought the ire of the internet upon itself as bosses attempted to launch a range of collectible Worms NFTs. But while the real swift condemnation and embarrassing backtrack have all now passed, employees at the developer's main Wakefield and Nottingham sites remained stunned. They say the incident reflects a company out of touch with its staff, which is yet to say sorry to team members left in the internet's firing line. Speaking to Eurogamer under the condition of anonymity to protect their careers, more than a dozen employees have said they felt let down by how Team 17 handled the announcement, and that the company's refusal to listen to staff concerns has added additional pressure to a workforce already worn thin. Team members I spoke to, fiercely loyal to their colleagues and proud of the work they do, were aghast at the public drubbing the company's name got last week, and say they have become increasingly upset by the decisions of management over the past years as workloads have risen while pay has remained poor. Team 17's staff, I'm not going to go through all of it, but there's some quotes here of what's been going on. So you might ask, well, why is what do we mean by low pay? Okay, let me explain. Okay, QA members say that describe their pay as low or terrible, with around 16,000 pounds, the current base rate, up to around 19K for a more senior QA role. Salaries used to be lower, starting around 13K, though this level was phased out over the last 5 years. So, for those of you who don't, I mean, the pound is a stronger currency than the dollar, so this isn't 1-to-1. But where these people's offices are, it costs like after taxes and everything like that. These people basically make about 1,000 pounds, like 1,000 pounds, 1,050 pounds a month. Rent for a single bed living area is like $550. For a 2-bed, it's like $650 to $750. So basically, they're using between 50 to 65% of their income just on where they live.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, food prices in the UK, if you're buying food and then taking it to your apartment and cooking it, food is outrageously cheap in the UK. If you're cooking it yourself. But guess how much their employees make? I mean, how much their CEO makes?
How much?
200 million pounds a year.
Wow.
Yeah. So, basically, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the lady who's in charge is, I think her name's Kate Bestwick. Sorry, no, Debbie Bestwick. She co-founded the company and then bought out its other co-founders in 2010. And she has grown the company, but, she's basically gotten her ass up on her shoulders about what's going on, Sorry, I lied. Her personal wealth is 200 million pounds. She made $10.24 million dollars last year, which is the equivalent in pounds is about 7.56 million, which isn't bad. But when your employees are making like when you're a QA for a video game company, QA is really important. When your QA is making less than $20,000 a year and they're spending over 50% of their monthly income just to have a roof over their head, it's not good. It's not good.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, this is the Eurogamer article. This has probably been disseminated into multiple other articles, but I just thought that, this proves, like, a lot of people like to think, well, if we only had women CEOs, then all of this stuff. Oh, and I didn't mention the sexual harassment going on at Team 17. A female CEO is at the top. and there's still sexual harassment going on. Yeah.
Like that song. Here comes the new boss, same as the old boss.
Yeah.
Mm,
Except she's got boobs.
yeah.
I mean, basically, like, I've said this before. Capitalism without any type of pure unfettered capitalism, aka the laissez-faire, hands-off, I do whatever I want as long as I make money, is the problem with most of the markets in the world today. Um, and it's sad, but because look, I own a business, I want to make money, but what a lot of these CEOs don't understand is that the CEO has the vision of the company, they have a direction they want to steer it, but if you don't have people underneath you implementing this stuff, nothing's gonna get done.
Yep.
You can have all the big ideas you want in the world. If you don't have people underneath you helping you to implement it, it means nothing.
Yep, that's certainly true.
And it's just not good. It's not good. So what are your guys' thoughts on this, the tip of the iceberg? It just got worse and worse and worse. And this is Team 17. I mean, yes, they're known for worms, but they published a lot of games we like Ukulele Ukulele and Ukulele the Impossible
This is gonna
Impossible
hurt
Machine.
them. This is gonna hurt them quite a lot.
Yeah, it's, they're, I mean, they're going, obviously they're not particularly a big company, but they're not gonna, more people find out about this could hurt them. They could see the same repercussions as Activision Blizzard.
Yeah. Sadly, all these companies keep on trying to catch. They're like, I think in the case of Debbie Bestwick, I think the big thing with her was, like, there's no one around her on her level or close to it who can tell her that's not a good idea. Even though there were people who were implementing it, said, we're working on this because you told us to work on this, you're paying us to work on this, but this is not going to do well. Because generally speaking, most, like, you have 4 quadrants of NFT people, and the only people who are really on board are people who like have something to gain with it. Gamers don't want it. Most developers who actually know what NFTs are, like, this shit is not ready yet. But people who have some Bitcoin or some shit lying around, they're like, well, I can sell this to people and make all this money. And I don't think they quite understand that. Bitcoins may be a thing and NFTs may be a thing one day, but that day isn't today. But tis what it is, what it is, what it is. So, anything else you guys want to add about these scummy business practices before we move on to something more palatable?
Just one thing.
Yes.
Somebody clean up there. Somebody get the cleaning products. We're gonna need them.
All right.
So now to something at least a lot more
Palatable.
stomachable. Yeah. And if I think about it, I'm gonna ask this in a question. What you guys would recommend for romantic movies? At least if they're not really romantic movies.
Yeah, these are. This next topic is best romantic movies for non-romantic people. So I came up with a list of 5 movies that I feel are relatively romantic, but you don't have to, like, they aren't like sappy. Or if they are sappy, it's earned. So my number 5, good movie, like romantic movie for non-romantic people, is The Princess Bride, starring Carrie Elways and Wallace Shawn.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the reason I say The Princess Bride is a good romantic movie for non-romantic people is because The Princess Bride, at its core, is about this young man who, um, he essentially separated from a girl that he was crushing on. He winds up becoming a sailor, a pirate, and his ship is taken in by pirates, and he winds up being taken in by this pirate and training to become like the best pirate ever under this older pirate who retires, and he takes on the mantle of that pirate. He comes back and discovers that the girl that he was crushing on has been kidnapped, and he's going to rescue her. And from there, an adventure ensues. And
It's a sounds. I've never seen that movie, but the plot sounds interesting.
yeah, it's very good. It has a lot of quotables in it. It's got everything. It's got everything. If you're a man and you don't like watching sappy ass romantic stuff, but you wanna, but it has all the underpinnings of romantic stuff in it. It's perfect for that.
Yeah.
Really good for that type of thing. And like I said, it has some really great things. It was directed by Rob Reiner. And it's just a really well made film. It's astonishingly well made. So with that being said, my number 4 best romantic movie for non-romantic people is The Addams Family.
I was about to say, explain yourself, because the Addams Family is one of the weirder choices.
Allow me to explain. Any of the modern Addams Family incarnations, because the thing is this, even the animated film, and the reason I'll say why, once I explain my reasoning, you guys will totally get it. Most romantic films are always about some guy chasing some girl, and he's gonna get her. Like, he shows up at the wedding, she's gonna marry the wrong guy. He's like, hey, remember me? I'm that wacky guy who went on this adventure to get you to this wedding on time, or I've been your best friend since we were kids, and you should really be going with me, not that guy over there, because he's an asshole. But most romantic films tend to focus on, the courtship phase, the chasing of that relationship. Very few romantic films focus on what happens afterwards. Like, when this couple's been married for years, what happens? How are things going? Are they in love? Well, any of the modern Addams Family, or even the old Addams Family TV shows, but I'm specifically talking about the movies. You have Gomez and Morticia, who have 3 kids, and they are deeply in love with each other. Like, you watch that first Addams Family movie, and there's no doubt in anyone's mind, Gomez and Morticia fuck. Okay? And enjoy it. Like, you can tell the way that they look at each other. They've been married for years, and they still enjoy saying, Lurch, take these kids to the movies. Me and my wife gonna tear up the house. And I don't mean remodel it either.
Well, if anything, they know how to make things go bang.
And I think, it's very easy. It's very.
I like the. I never really watched the movies, but I did like the cartoon growing up. I like how it's just the dichotomy of like your typical sitcoms. Like, one of the lines I remember was what's the husband's name again?
Gomez.
Gomez is on like a business trip, and he was like, "Man, business trip was terrible. The hotel was terrible. The bed was too soft and too comfortable. It wasn't lumpy." I don't know. I just enjoyed that as, enjoyed the weirdness of it.
Well, that's the thing that makes the Addams Family so enjoyable, is that, like, they're a family, and, like, even though they're weird, they are a truly loving family. Like Gomez loves Morticia. Like so many other shows, like the husband and the wife are at odds. Like you watch the Flintstones, like Fred is always at odds with Wilma. You know, you watch the Jetsons, like Jane's always spending all this dude's money and she doesn't have a job at all. She like I know she's a housewife. Yeah, but there's like she literally just presses a button and shit gets done in the house. It's not like she's actually doing anything. So I mean it's like, but you watch, I mean, even modern stuff, like you watch The Simpsons, Homer and Marge, they love each other, but they kind of have like a strained relationship, especially modern Simpsons. Like old school Simpsons, it was like Homer was an asshole, but he tried, you know? But you watch The Addams Family and genuinely, like Gomez and Morticia love each other. They've been married a long time and they still love each other. You know, like they give their kids room to be themselves and they aren't smothering, but they love their kids. You know, and plus I just love how, you know, unapologetically the Addams Family movies just totally they've been married a long time and yes, they still fuck. Like even the new cartoon, the new reboot cartoon they did of the Addams Family, like it opens up with Gomez and Morticia leaving the old country and showing pictures of them when they moved into the mansion that's in New Jersey. Because of course the Addams Family mansion would be in New Jersey, and there's a scene.
I was about to say, how the heck that they fit into New Jersey is
New Jersey's a shithole. Yeah, I said it. But anyway, they call it the Garden State. Yeah, if you're growing smokestacks and chemical plants. But yeah, in the opening montage, they show Gomez and Morticia when they first get married, and they show Gomez and Morticia on safari where she's really fucking pregnant, riding on a lion. With her husband. Yeah, Gomez and Morticia, they fuck. They're an old married couple. They're an old married couple that still are very much in love with each other and enjoy each other in that primal kind of way. Which you don't see because the running gag is that these old married couples, they just stop having sex. Not the Addams. No.
Yeah.
I remember in the second Addams Family movie where it opens up with Morticia has gone into labor. She's having a baby. And Pugsley and Wednesday are listening to this little girl give this bullshit excuse about how her mom got pregnant. And Pugsley looks at his sister like, can you believe this bullshit? and Wednesday just looks at her, she's like, yeah, our parents didn't do that. They had sex. You know, it's just very matter of fact. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, this is, I like this.
That's the Addams.
That's the Addams. My third romantic movie that I think is like astonishingly, it's very romantic, but it's for people who don't like romance movies. And the romantic movie, my third romantic movie that I think people who don't like romantic movies would like, but it has a lot of romantic themes and undertones in it. Believe it or not, you're going to laugh when you hear this. Let me take a sip of my drink.
He's holding us in suspense, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, my number 3 is... Damn. I should have written this down. It'll come to me. I'll come back to it. My number two is Young Frankenstein.
Okay.
Yeah. Young Frankenstein is my number 2. And I know what some people are going to say. How is that a romantic movie? You've got two. The movie opens up with Gene Wilder's Dr. Frederick Frankenstein trying to make out with his fiance, and it just doesn't work out because she's like, "Well, wait until we're married," right? And he winds up basically going to the old country to claim the estate of his grandfather, Baron Frederick Frankenstein, that Frankenstein, the guy who created the monster. And he's like, he winds up meeting up with another woman entirely and falling in love with her because she's totally more into him than his fiance, who winds up cheating on him with the monster because the whole point of Young Frankenstein is that Gene Wilder's Frederick Frankenstein winds up recreating his ancestors' old experiment. But the thing is that he has to make everything big on the monster. Everything has to be bigger on the monster, which is why when the monster, which is why like everything has been set up by this old lady who was with the original monster because she really liked that everything was bigger on him.
Yeah, I know where that's going.
So the new monster basically takes old Frederick out because it goes with his fiancée Elizabeth. He's like, fuck. The end of the film has like the town, they're all angry, they're gonna kill the monster and kill Dr. Frederick Frankenstein. But he does brain surgery on the monster. And he basically gives some of his intellect to the monster. And he takes some of the monster's libido and gives it to himself. So he tricks his cheating fiance and gets the other girl. So it's actually pretty, because like the girl's like, well, you gave the monster some of your intellect, so what did you get from him? He's like, and he goes, his libido kicks in and he starts making love to her. You don't see that, but it's heavily hinted because the monster, when he's about to go, he makes a certain noise, and Frederick Frankenstein does the same thing. But anyway, it's relatively romantic. There is some love there. Number 3 keeps on escaping my head. I'll go to number 1. My number 1 romantic movie, and then once I remember number 3, it'll come back to me, and I'll insert it. My number 1 romantic movie for non-romantic people is another Rob Reiner film. It began with Rob Reiner. It will end with Rob Reiner. This film isn't sappy. It's an adult comedy. It's an adult romantic comedy. I think it's pretty damn good. It's about 2 people who meet in college and then they meander through their lives, going through trials and tribulations, ultimately coming back together in a romantic way. And it's the quintessential romantic movie for non-romantic people. It's When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. My number three romantic movie for non-romantic people is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Dracula?
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh.
It's the one directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
When did this movie come out?
Oh, the Francis Ford Coppola Bram Stoker's Dracula came out in the 90s. It's the one that has Gary Oldman as Dracula. It's actually really close to the original source material to the book. But so I'll go to number 3 and then I'll go back to 1. Number 3, the reason I give it to Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula is because the film is very the film ultimately, like, Dracula, his version of Dracula, the whole point that the whole reason that Dracula comes back is because he finds out that a woman who looks like his wife, um, like he thinks that his wife has been reincarnated. Could you imagine loving someone so much that you come back from the dead to see them again? That's hardcore.
Yeah. To come back from the dead to see, like his wife comes back, or Dracula comes.
He comes back because Winona Ryder plays Mina Harker, who looks like the reincarnation of his wife, and it turns out she is the reincarnation of his wife. So basically Dracula in becoming Vlad the Impaler damns himself, and that's why he's a vampire and all that shit. The end of Bram Stoker's Dracula has his love of his wife and him when he dies wanting to join her reincarnated self, that he basically he's redeemed through her love from being a damned vampire at the end of the film and joins her spirit in the afterlife. Through love. He's redeemed through love, which is vastly different from most other Dracula films. Most of the time it's like, Abraham Van Helsing and Jonathan Harker storm in and stake Dracula and he's dead because he's evil and all that shit.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit different. It's a horror movie, but there's also a lot of love elements involved with it. But back to my number one, When Harry Met Sally. It's a quintessential romantic film, comedy. You've got Billy Crystal when he was, in his heyday. You've got Meg Ryan before she had all that plastic surgery and looked weird. It's just really great. It's a comedy, but it talks about real shit too. It's just, it's what you want. It's what you want from a good, it's a film that couples can sit down and watch, or you can watch by yourself and enjoy, and it doesn't feel like it's not forcing the romance down your throat. It's like it's people living their lives and trying to find someone to be with, but if they don't, it's okay. And I like it. I think it's one of the better films. And those are my top 5 romantic movies for non-romantic movie people. Do you guys have any suggestions? Like a movie that has a romance, you're like, I like that couple. They really act like normal people.
I don't know if you'd call it this. Well, I like this movie because maybe it's a realization that your relationship might not have been as bad as you thought it was. There's just those, a few incidences that just completely, just threw it out of line. So you act impulsively to try to deal with it, but in the end, he realized, wait a minute, this person's not actually wasn't that bad. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I don't really like, I'm not. I don't know. People call this a romantic comedy.
I don't. I don't. It's a horror story. He's giving himself brain damage in order to forget somebody.
Yeah. I thought I've really enjoyed that movie.
I mean, it's got Jim Carrey, and when Jim Carrey was still trying to be serious and everything, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I agree. I mean, some people could call it a romantic comedy. I mean, a romantic movie. Jewel, do you have a suggestion?
Believe it or not, I'm the one that probably needed this the most. So if anything, I thank you boys for giving me something to work with, or at least try to look forward to.
Okay, I got one more for you. The Wedding Singer.
Okay, I think that was a cheesy movie.
No,
I remember right.
The Wedding Singer is a legit romantic movie.
While we're talking about Adam Sandler, Mr. Deeds. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, Mr. Deeds. The one, I forget the name of it, but it's the one where Adam Sandler, 100, where his girl, his what, like he falls in love with this girl who lost her long term memories, so she can only remember like a day at a time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That one is actually pretty good too.
Yeah,
I actually enjoyed that one.
All three of those are like really romantic, good movies.
I think it's called like 50 First Dates.
Yeah, 50 First Dates. Yeah, that's a really good one too. You would think Adam Sandler. No. Seriously, there was a time when Adam Sandler there was a time for like 5 or 6 movies where Adam Sandler, almost everything he put out was really good.
Yeah.
Even though
he's still making money.
I can't look. I'm not gonna knock his hustle.
Oh yeah,
they keep giving him Razzies, but yet he keeps getting richer.
I don't like. Normally, I would agree with you, but the last 2 films he made, like he made that movie, Falling Glass, not Falling Glass. That movie where he plays like the jewel dealer in New York, and he's just a piece of shit. Really good movie. Like it's on Netflix. It's really good. Like I'm like, damn, this dude's good. He can actually fucking act. I mean, I've seen Adam Sandler act. He was in that movie where it's called Spanglish. He was good in that too. So I mean, Adam Sandler, when he puts his mind to it, can do some really awesome shit. But it's like you've got to get him in something where he's forced outside of his. I'm just gonna yell and talk weird. It's like, no, come on, Adam, you're better than
Pull
this.
yourself together.
You're better than this.
How many little Nickies can we?
I mean,
you know what? I remember we had a podcast where I said guilty pleasure movies that you know you're bad, but you enjoy them. I actually like Little Nicky. It's a terrible movie, but I like it. I like it. I like Little Nicky. It's not great, but I like it.
Yeah.
Hell, it's better than Click, where he's got the magic remote that lets him like fast forward and stop time and shit.
That was just that. I never saw that movie. That whole premise looked kind of dumb to me.
I mean, if the movie had not been a Happy Madison film, and they had a better director on it,
it would have been burned, right?
It would have been better. Because, I mean,
okay.
The film was basically one of those standard, someone gives you a deal that's too good to be true, and there's a price to be paid for you misusing that thing that's too good to be true.
And that gift is pretty weird. I mean, that gift is pretty steep.
Well, the price is pretty steep. Because basically, he goes to this store, he basically messes up his TV remote, and he winds up going to this this electronics store to get a new remote for his TV, and the remote the electronic salesman is not Rutger Hauer, Christopher Walken. Is Christopher Walken, and Christopher Walken, like, as soon as it's Christopher Walken, there's something shady going on here, and Christopher Walken takes him in the back and he gives him a special remote that lets him stop, slow down, and fast forward time. But Christopher Walken tells him, don't use the fast forward function because it's not good. And he winds up basically using it improperly, and eventually he, like, the remote gets the remote gets stuck fast forwarding parts of Adam Sandler's life, but he isn't aware of this time he's missing. So like, he misses major events because he keeps on fast forwarding through things because it's boring.
Yeah.
And eventually his life goes to shit. He loses his family. His father dies. Like his kids grow up to be like him because he was always working instead of being with his family. He's like, yeah, he's in his deathbed. He's like, he makes it on his deathbed. He makes his son promise. Look, don't be like me. Take care. Be with your family. Don't waste out on taking care of your family instead of always trying to work and shit. It's actually a fairly good film. I mean, like it's not good. The principle behind it is kind of interesting. It just like if it wasn't a Happy Madison film, it could have been better.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's like, if only it wasn't a Happy Madison film. Like there's some Happy Madison films where like this could have been really good. Unfortunately, it was a Happy Madison film.
Oh.
And that ruined it.
Is Happy Madison a character that...
No, Happy Madison is the production studio that Adam Sandler has.
Oh, that's what it's called. Okay.
It's called Happy Madison. Like Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, Happy Madison. Ironically, those are actually two good Happy Madison films. Waterboy, Wedding Singer.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some good ones. Grown Ups. The first Grown Ups was pretty good. The sequel was like, why did we need to make this? It was enjoyable, but it was like, this manufactured conflict is too much. Anyway, so with that being said, let's move on to the next topic. Best real couples in gaming. What is in your opinion the best real couple in gaming? Now, be aware there has to be proof that this is a real couple. They have to do couple shit. It's not like I wish they were a couple, or they kind of became a couple in one game. So, who wants to go first?
Probably, this is probably hinted at, but I'm not sure entirely. But I would go with our hero and heroine of Chrono Trigger.
Who, Marl and Chrono?
Yeah.
No, they're a couple.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, she got everyone together and played a game to get a Chrono doll so that she could swap him out and bring his ass back to life.
Yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't say I love your ass, I don't know what does it.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to at least be careful of that one because, if anything, it feels like a safe bet, but it only comes at the very end. That's why.
No, that happens at the midway point of the game, really. Like, because everything you do up to that point is the first, like the first act of that game is you,
Trying to encounter Lavos.
No. The first act is you discovering that Lavos happened. Like once you go to the future and you see the day of Lavos, that's all the first act. Everything after that, like you go into the time gates and stuff like that, that's act. That's like the second. That's the start of the second act. Once you go to the Age of Zeal and Chronos sacrifices himself inside of Lavos' eye beam in order to give everyone time to escape, that's the midpoint of the second act. So at that point, like it's the middle of the game, and literally at that point, Marl, like one of the major quests of that, the guy at the end of the time's like, yeah, you can do anything you want, whatever you want to do, but Marl's like, we are gonna save my man. We're gonna save his ass. That's what one of the quests you can do is go save his ass. So that's a couple. I mean, to be fair, he did save her though in the future. I mean, in the past, when she went into the time thing and they thought that she was her ancestor, Queen Lee. Yeah. So it was more tete-a-tete.
Well, in a sense, it's a technicality that they saved her because they saved the queen.
No, they saved her. Because remember, like, she was kidnapped by Hecarim the First, who thought he was getting the queen, but they weren't getting the queen. They got Marl, who looks like the queen because the queen's her ancestor. So he saved. He knew, like, they knew that wasn't Queen Lean. That was Marl that
I
got
said
kidnapped.
the roundabout.
No, they because Chrono knew that the person who got kidnapped was Marl and not the queen. So he was going to save Marl, not the queen. Now Frog maybe thought that was the queen because at the end when you put that timeline, that particular scenario closes out. Like he says, "Wow, you really do look like Queen Lean," but like Luca and Chrono knew that wasn't Queen Lean. They were like, "Yeah, we're here to save Marl." Because remember, there's that point where in Chrono Trigger, there's that point where they get where they save Marl, and then they realize, "Oh shit, the real Queen Lean's been kidnapped," and they have to go rescue her in order to bring back Marl, because if Queen Lean dies, Marl dies.
Yeah.
That's why I said it's a roundabout that they save her.
But anyway, yeah, that's a fair couple. Kenoshi?
I don't have one off the top of my head. Come back to me. Think about it for a little bit.
Okay, I've got two. I'm gonna say Shella and Callus from Bait and Katos. Because in Bait and Katos, you get this item called like the Mirror of Fate or something, and it basically is like it's like a MacGuffin that can one shot the main bad guy of the game, which is like the god who swallowed the ocean. And she, instead of using it to save to defeat this ultimate bad, she uses it to save her boyfriend Callus, who betrayed you, by the way. He was working with one of the villains the entire damn time.
Well, I'm not surprised there.
Well, I mean, once you discover his motivation, it's not really like, oh, I knew it. It's really a shock. When you find out that Callus has been working with the villain the entire time, it's a shock. When you find out the exact nature of your character working alongside Callus, it's actually one of the legit best twists I've seen in gaming in a long time. But anyway, so my second couple, this is from Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess, and it's once again a married couple.
And no, it's not who you think it is.
Oh,
are you talking about the Gorons in that mansion?
You mean the Yetis? Yeah.
Or the Yetis?
Yeto and Yeta.
Yeah,
okay.
that
was the best. In my opinion, that was the best temple in the game, just because of how how different it was compared to other.
Yeah,
other
it's a dungeon that I remember for other reasons, but yeah, there is a romantic relationship in there.
I like how after you do the final boss fight, he Link has to awkwardly get the fuck out of there before Yeto makes sweet love to his wife. It's like, well, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna step in. I'm gonna get the fuck out of here because I don't want to see you two fucking. He's like, that's basically. It's very awkward, but also very sweet. Because Yeto says one of the most badass, like earnestly romantic lines ever. Like his wife's like, but the mirror. He's like, yeah, fuck that mirror. Look into my eyes and see the reflection of yourself in them, and you can see how beautiful you are. I was like, damn, you know what? Sir.
That's the one that earned him the bedroom bounce.
Right? You, sir, You, sir, are awesome. You, sir, are, but I mean, the whole thing is like, I mean, the whole point of that dungeon is you're basically helping him make a soup to make his sick wife feel better.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
So,
when you
what
beat
the
her
heck?
up in order to get the dark magic from out of her body, like he's like, fuck you. It's like, no, he runs up to his wife. I mean, it's so sweet. I'm like, it's just so cute.
I was gonna say that is melting heart. That's melting cold heart sweetness right there, right?
Man.
But anyway, those are my two. And I know what some people would say. Well, what about Link and Zelda?
That's what I was saying.
I said a married couple. Link and Zelda have never been married, so that would have already thrown that supposition out the window.
Yeah, and in none of the timelines, as far as I know, those two have ever hooked up.
No, they've never been married. The only game where it seems like they might have a relationship is Skyward Sword. That's it, and it's never really elaborated upon. So, and I hate that game, so it's a moot point.
Very cute.
No, it's literally a moot. You could debate it all day, but yeah. Anyway, Kenoshi, do you have a couple?
Gee. Fortunately not, because all the all the good ones have been all the ones that the games I've played have been
Mentioned.
taken, haven't mentioned. Maybe the no, I can't think of anything outside of the ones that have already been mentioned that really stick out, other than the relationship. Oh, yeah. No, I don't have one.
Okay, I'll name one more. This is my joke relationship. Cody and Jessica in Final Fight. Look, a man has to really love you if he's willing to uppercut a motherfucker through a plate glass window from the top of a penthouse suite of a skyscraper and go to jail for years to rescue your ass.
Yeah.
That's love right there.
Yeah, I actually admit that one.
That's love. He loved you so much he brought his best friend with him and your dad to uppercut a motherfucker through a plate glass window of a penthouse apartment downtown, the skyscraper. That's love. Anyway, so I guess those are the best real couples in gaming, or at least in our estimation. So we can move on to what we want in GTA 6. So it was announced that GTA 6 is a thing.
Finally, and if anything, I'll say this: finally, we can get out of 5.
Well, they said it's in development. That doesn't necessarily, technically speaking, if you drop a game plan, like a development plan on a piece of whiteboard, technically a game is in development. So that doesn't really mean anything. I'm sure.
I was thinking that we had a light at the end of the tunnel in Scene 6.
No. No. Until I see gameplay footage, I don't trust shit that any of these companies say when they say they're working on a new game. So, with that being said, what would you guys want in a theoretical GTA 6?
Hmm. Probably a high hope, but good controls for vehicles.
If wishes were fishes, we'd all have something to eat. Kanoshi.
Um, music customization options.
Well, they kind of had that before. Like if you played GTA
on certain devices.
on PC, you can basically on PC you can essentially like
Customize your radio stations.
yeah, you can customize radio stations. So
Better controls, better shooting mechanics.
I
They're
agree.
kinda nice. For a game where you shoot a lot of people, the shooting kind of sucks.
I agree.
Good point, because if anything, I was hoping that I consider that maybe one of those higher wishes as well. So how about a city that probably is in a different region? Maybe South America or Europe.
Uh, that's fair. I mean, I personally wouldn't want to see that because I mean, they did. What was that fucking game made by Ubisoft? Watch Dogs London, Watch Dogs London, and that game did jack squat.
Ouch.
That game underperformed.
I was at least thinking that if anything, they can mix it up a little bit, though I'm not sure by how much.
I mean, there's other iconic cities they could do. They could do a fictionalized version of DC. They could do a fictionalized version of Chicago. Um, you know, they could do Seattle.
Yeah.
See. Better driving.
That's something I pulled out.
I agree. I agree. The driving is a little stiff.
Maybe some deeper vehicle customizations.
I agree. I agree. They do need better vehicle customization because what they have kind of is underwhelming.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you can add a fin to your car.
I was gonna say the car selection is probably thinner than some guys' hairlines.
No, they have a pretty good car selection in GTA. The problem is they don't have a lot of
Custom options.
yeah, they don't have a lot of customization for your vehicle. Like you're basically like if you customize a vehicle, you're basically stuck with whatever. It's kind of like okay.
That's a waste of profit.
Well, the thing is, I mean, they basically have a lot of analogs. Like in GTA, like they have an analog for a classic Mustang. It's called the Stallion. They have an analog for a Thunderbird. It's called the Phoenix. They have an analog for a Charger. It's like called a Buffalo or something like that. Like they have, like I mean, they have a lot of analogs for real world vehicles. It's just not very well implemented most of the time. But that's life. You're not always going to have everything you want. But I do think that it could be better. I mean, me personally, this is just my own personal opinion. I think it would be cool if they fixed some of the issues that are going on with GTA. Like for example, if it would be cool if GTA made it so that um, like if the next GTA, I know the next GTA is going to have an online component because they made so much money off of GTA Online, and I'm okay with that. But could they do everyone a favor and friggin' and just have online be a separate thing and don't take resources from the single player so that they have to pump up their online?
Hmm. Wishes like fishes, buddy. That's more of a pipe dream than what I wished for.
I don't think so. Because I mean, look, if they have the money to buy Zynga for $12.3 billion, they probably have the money to just hire some more people who just solely work on online, or to spin off part of the studio just to be online.
I get you. Though, if anything, I'm thinking of what's
I mean, they're
more
greedy.
likely to happen.
They're greedy, so that probably won't be the case. But that would make more sense than what they have been doing, which is like all the content that should have been uh all the content that should have been multiplayer got turned into I mean, it should have been single player, got turned into content that they used on the online.
Yeah.
Only recently did you kind of sort of get multiplayer content or single player content, and that was with the contract where they brought back Franklin, but it's still fucking online content. So I do think that it could be a thing. Um, it's just one of those things where it would require a will to do it versus them not having the resources.
Yeah.
Which are two completely different things. The will to do something is different from not having the resources to do it. I think it would be cool to bring back real estate that actually bring back real estate that actually changes up how certain businesses in the area act. So let's say you bought a hospital, you would get free healthcare from that hospital. Like if you died and you had to come back, you could come back at that hospital for free. If you bought a security firm, like when you were arrested by the police, you would get your stuff for free. Like you get your guns back; they wouldn't be taken away from you. That type of stuff.
Yeah.
But could be wrong. Who am I? I'm just some guy. Any other things you guys wish they had in GTA 6 since the announcement was made, etc., etc.?
I'd honestly wait, but if anything, at least get at least if they're gonna give us anything more, give us a storyline that makes us care, that isn't something like our trio of heroes, or 2 heroes and an idiot.
Well, I would say one hero, one asshole, and one psychopath. Because in
You're a lot
GTA
more fun.
5, you have Franklin, who I consider to kind of sort of be a hero, even though he's an asshole too, but to a lesser degree. Because he's young enough that he hasn't done as much fucked up shit as Michael and Trevor. Trevor is a piece of shit. And Michael's a piece of shit. Like, both of the older characters in the game are just not really
Nutcases.
well, they're not characters you can really relate to or give a shit about.
I was thinking that the kinder term would be calling them nutcases.
No, because Michael isn't a nutcase. Trevor is seriously mentally. He has mental. He's mentally and emotionally. He's
Broken.
He's mentally and emotionally disturbed. Whereas Michael is just he's an ends justifies the means sociopath.
Okay.
So I think I think it would be cool to add a female protagonist.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
And I don't mean stunt casting. Oh, we added a female protagonist. I mean legitimately add a female protagonist that is interesting and does interesting shit. Don't just add a female protagonist just to say you have a female protagonist. Do something interesting with it. I think it would be cool if they brought back stats like they had in past games, where like if you ate too much, you get fat. If you exercise a lot, you got like really fucking muscly.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised they ditched all of that. I mean, it feels like GTA took a few steps back when they went to 4 and 5.
Yeah, 4 just kind of felt like 4
Samey?
just well, it didn't feel samey. 4 felt like they leaned too heavily into narrative and gameplay went down because the gameplay of 4 is not fun. It's not fun. It's not fun running down a flight of steps chasing a dude that you're trying to shoot. Like, the gameplay in 4 is just clunky and not enjoyable. And I know people say, well, the gameplay in the 6th gen wasn't fun either. You're right, but, I mean, it felt arcadey. The gameplay, like, it felt floaty. Like, when you're driving in GTA Vice City or San Andreas, the driving feels floaty and arcadey, but it's supposed to because, like you couldn't do a sim with that physics engine. But you play GTA 4 where they're trying to make it all serious, and the driving is just terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, the driving in that game is just really bad. Like, really fucking bad.
Nightmarish.
I wouldn't say nightmarish, it's just really bad. The driving in GTA 4 is worse than driving in GTA 5. Because GTA 5's driving's bad, but, like, you can still do stuff. The driving in GTA 4 is, like, clunky. Like, moving around is clunky. Everything in that game is clunky. It's not fun. Unfortunately. But, yeah, that's my own personal opinion. So yeah, I would like to see more of that stuff. Add more vehicles. You know, and when I say vehicles, I don't mean like add more types of vehicles. Like, they have cars, they have helicopters, they have boats, they have bicycles, but add other stuff. Like add those friggin' hoverboard things that like were lighting on fire and shit as a joke. Add skateboards. Have a mission. Have a mission where you're chasing someone down, and one of your characters, whoever you're playing as, they can keep the multi-character thing. One of the characters you play as jacks some kid's skateboard, and you got to chase somebody down on a skateboard. Now that would be fun.
Yeah.
You know, change it up. Do something different. Don't just keep on doing the same shit over and over again. Because that leads to stagnation. And stagnation is not good.
Just keep giving us money, though. They just keep giving us money when we do the same old thing. That's the problem. It's like,
Yeah. Because I don't want to play the same thing over and over again. I need variety. Variety. But yeah, so yeah, that's about it. More gun customization. Just changing the skin on a gun is not gun customization. Now, to be fair, I don't think you should be able in a theoretical GTA 6. I don't think you should be able to have gun customization in the beginning of the game. Like when you go to your first ammunition or whatever. But I do think it should be unlockable. Like, say you buy an ammunition or an independent gun shop or something in the game, and you should get to the point, like maybe do some side quests, or like it opens up a quest chain where you get a guy who's a gunsmith to work at your place, who, like, now you have the ability to customize your weapons, so you can like go in there with like a standard 9, and you can customize it so that it has a bigger magazine, or it has a sight on it, or the bullets that you shoot from it now use hollow points or armor piercing or something like that. All I'm saying is, like, just resting on your, like, the problem with GTA is that they've kind of rested on their laurels for one entire console gen.
Yeah.
And that's not good. Matter of fact, it's kind of lazy. Now, to be fair, they are like one of the highest selling to be fair, in their in their defense, I mean, when you have the highest selling third party game of all time, they kind of have the right to be a little arrogant, but not to this extent.
Yeah, the problem, the problem with the GTA franchise, we talked about it, I think it was on the Earcast a few days ago. A lot of that old talent just isn't there anymore. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I hope it's good. I hope the game, hopefully they realize how badly they screwed up the GTA trilogy and be like, yeah, we need to get this right this time. But the problem with a lot of us, a lot of gamers, actually, it's not really a problem that we should have to deal with. But thing is, a lot of the people that made these companies what they are, they're not there anymore. People that made Sega what they were, they're gone. The people that made Square Enix or Squaresoft back in the day, what they are, they're gone. Or Bandai Namco or Konami, all those people that made, the games that we loved growing up, and, the identity, well, the people left and took that identity elsewhere. So
Yeah, they took the talent. They don't have the IP, but they don't have the talent. So next time you play a game, you're like, man, this franchise used to be good. And then you play it and you realize the game is the same, but the talent is gone. Because the talent is gone.
yeah,
You know, Nintendo, hate to beat a dead horse, but Nintendo is one of the few companies where they retain a lot of their talent. Because other companies don't. Like, people leave and they're just gone. You know, like, you wonder why Final Fantasy's been shit for so many years now. Because Hironobu Sakaguchi, the guy who was really like one of the major producers on Final Fantasy, it's gone.
yeah. Yeah, it'll be 300 years before you get that part 2 of Final Fantasy VII.
No, they said they're going to start working on it eventually. But here's something I bet you guys didn't know. Final Fantasy VII Remake wasn't even made by Squaresoft. It was made by the same people who did Dragon Ball, the new Legacy of Goku Dragon Ball Z game. Those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that just tells you how fucking shit Square Enix is these days. They can't even do internal development of their own damn games.
Yeah.
So, you know. But anyway, we're on to the final topic. What is the video game with the best romantic element? Or elements?
I'll say at least to me, probably be the Fire Emblem game, the recent Fire Emblem games, where you could, at least the ones from the 3DS, where you could pair up with somebody and have kids, and then they grow up, and then they become part of your army. I thought that was an interesting mechanic.
I agree, but they only did that in Awakening. They dropped that for the other games.
Oh,
Oof.
yeah. But yeah, that was an interesting mechanic. That was an interesting idea.
I agree.
I kind of wish, other games would do something. Other games that, like RPGs that had, that heavily, one of the mechanics is making choices. That'd be kind of interesting if you could, I don't know.
Team up with your future kids. Yeah, that was a really good mechanic, and I wish they kept it going forward. But
Wish
then
it worked.
No, it was a really good idea because it's like, oh man, I wonder. Like, it's interesting that these people, they pair up. You pair someone up with someone of the opposite sex enough, they eventually like form a relationship, and they can, when you have the time jump where their future kids come to help you save the world and everything. I'm like, this is really cool. And it just kind of didn't work all that well. They stopped using it after a while. I shouldn't say it didn't work. They stopped using it. They were like, oh well, okay, we've explored this as much as we can. I was like, no, you didn't. You didn't explore it as much as you can.
Yeah, they could have taken it further. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, if you could pair somebody up correctly, you guys should get lots of choices.
Well, not even that. It was just because basically their future kid would have the strengths of both parents. So, like, if you paired, like, except for Crumb's kid, Lucina was always going to be the same no matter what, because like Crumb was going to be paired up with the Pegasus Knight chick, which I thought was kind of, but whatever. There were some things in that game where I was like, okay, come on, like.
I mean, that's the thing about certain. Yeah,
You're
sometimes
forcing me into this. Yeah, you're forcing me.
Yeah,
Because that was not a good pairing, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get like, I guess you can only write so much, and you don't want to write like 90 different scenarios for because I guess the developers wanted to get to a certain point, but I hate.
Yeah, they wanted to create Lucina. Like they did that so they could create Lucina, and I mean, I'm okay with it. I just was like.
Well, I mean that's the problem with games with choices. Remember, these scripts are written, and there's only, I don't know. They get maybe it should have been better thought out, or
I don't think it was very well implemented. That's all I'm saying. I do think that there are a couple of games that I think do have romantic elements that are done better. I think that if you play any Harvest Moon game where you can get married, I think those are kind of interesting. Not the current Harvest Moon games, which just feel lazy and half-assed, but some of the older ones, like from the sixth and fifth gen. It's kind of interesting where you can like basically get married and have kids and shit like that. And that extends to the Harvest Moon spinoff, Rune Factory.
Yeah.
The only downside of Rune Factory 4 is that you wind up making friends with this freaking elemental dragon who has a humanoid form, and if you play as a male character, like, why can't I get married to the dragon chick? Because then my kid's gonna be freaking amazing. They're gonna be half dragon. Why stand in the way of my half dragon, of my character having a half dragon child? But anyway, yeah, that was any of the Harvest Moon life sim games are pretty good. But that's the end of that's the end of the those are the end of the topics. Anything you want to mention, Kenoshi, before we wrap things up?
Yeah, just check out Project Console on Tuesday night, 7:30 Eastern time. And yeah, see you there. We'll be talking a little bit about Nintendo Direct as well as some other gaming news. So yeah, we'll see you there.
All right. Be there or be square.
And happy Valentine's Day to people who really care about that day.
Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day to those of you who have significant others, and if you don't, well, be happy with yourself.
Yeah.
Get to save your money.
Yeah.
Save your money.
You, Mr. Red Fox, got any big Valentine's Day plans with your girlfriend?
Yeah. Tomorrow and Monday, I'm doing like a mini staycation with the girlfriend in DC. We got a nice hotel, and we're just gonna have some fun. So going to a nice play Monday night, eat at a nice restaurant, and then we'll check out Tuesday morning, and it's back to work.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
Sounds like a good weekend.
Yeah. I will not be watching the Super Bowl because I don't really give a shit about any of the teams that are playing. Don't care about Cincinnati Bengals. Don't care about the Rams.
I was about to say, sorry I missed out a little bit, and if anything, thank you, Mother Nature. And also, let me guess, you're not going to enjoy enjoy the least popular teams playing?
No, they're not the least popular teams. I'm sure there's worse teams out there. Like I'm glad that the Green Bay Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers aren't in this year. It's great. That's a beautiful thing. But I have an uncle who he was a professor at the University of Cincinnati, so he's like really into it. It's like Cincinnati, yeah. And I have a friend who lives in LA, and she's all for the Rams, but I don't give a shit about either of those teams. Plus, I kind of don't like the NFL anyway.
I can only imagine why.
Finding out all the foul shit that happened underneath, behind closed doors. It's like I don't really like any of these people.
If you think that's bad, wait until you figure out what policies they have for black football players versus other football players.
That's why I don't like the NFL.
And if anything, I'm not sure if the podcast is over or not, but if you're one for romantic mechanics, I honestly go Harvest Moon.
I already said that.
Oh, okay.
That was my. I said Harvest Moon and
or Rune Factory.
And Rune Factory, yeah.
Okay, just that if anything, I thought that it wasn't going to be mentioned.
No, those are the best ones to use because I mean those games are really really romantic. Like there's a lot of romance and shit going on, and there's go on dates. Yeah. Oh, and Stardew Valley.
Yeah, that's the only other one I thought that would be coming up, but looks like that's already busted.
Stardew. I didn't mention Stardew Valley. I'm adding it, but that's the end of the cast. Yeah. Rate, comment, share, subscribe, and peace and good night.
And happy Valentines, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. Love the one you're with.